The Generals of the Yang Family, Chapter 20.
We are looking at Chapter 20 of the classic text, The Generals of the Yang Family. And the source material here outlines an incredibly high-stakes scenario involving systemic military failure, a totally rigged judicial apparatus, and a brilliantly executed counter-espionage operation. Imagine you are at your job, right? And you are set up to fail by a hostile boss.
A nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare.
Yeah.
It is a scenario where your superior deliberately engineers a catastrophe, provides zero operational support, and then preemptively utilizes the official reporting channels to frame you, the subordinate, for the entire collapse.
Yeah, and then you are left with the task of bypassing those compromise channels to deliver the actual ground truth to the CEO.
Knowing that doing so risks your career and, in this historical context, your actual life.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental conflict driving the events we're exploring today. Okay, let's unpack this.
So the protagonist in the scenario, Yang Yanzhao, finds himself navigating that exact vulnerability. He essentially functions as the ultimate whistleblower, confronting a deeply entrenched, self-protecting military apparatus.
And the text establishes the stakes immediately with his arrival at the palace gates. He bypasses the standard bureaucratic chain entirely to strike the Dengguan drum.
Which is a huge deal.
It's a massive deal. Knowing the historical context of the drum as a mechanism for extreme capital-level grievances, Yanzhao is instantly escalating the situation to a full-blown crisis.
Right. You don't just walk up and hit that drum for a minor HR complaint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He is detained by the palace guards, which is the standard protocol for such a disruption, but the sheer administrative shock of the act ensures his written petition lands directly on Emperor Taizong's desk.
And the contents of that petition outline a meticulously premeditated operational sabotage. Yanzhao documents the historical loyalty of his family, specifically his father, General Yang Ye. He does this to establish a baseline of operational integrity.
Yes, setting the record straight.
Right. And then he details how the Supreme Commander, Pan Renmei, leveraged his absolute authority to force Yang Ye's frontline troops into geographically indefensible positions.
The text specifically highlights Wolftooth Village and Chenji Valley, right?
Yes, locations that present severe tactical bottlenecks.
And the contrast the source material draws in this section is just stark. While Yang Yi's forces are isolated and absorbing the brunt of the enemy offensive in those bottlenecks, the text notes that Commander Pan Renmei is positioned safely in his own camp.
He's totally secure.
Yeah, he's holding banquets and engaging in what the text describes as talking high, just sitting around. There is a complete absence of reinforcements or strategic support. It reads as a deliberate starvation of resources.
And the reported casualties reflect the severity of that isolation. Yanzhao's petition states that his father, General Yang Ye, tragically died at the Liling Still.
Awful.
Furthermore, the petition introduces a deeply concerning detail regarding Yanzhao's brother, Yanzi, who is referred to as the seventh brother.
This part is wild.
It is. Yanzi did not fall in standard combat operations against the enemy. The text explicitly notes he was killed by a barrage of arrows while inside the West Camp.
Inside their own camp. That detail shifts the narrative from a catastrophic military blunder to a targeted internal elimination and assassination.
Yeah.
Following this, Pan Renmei initiates a comprehensive communication blackout. He actively attempts to intercept Yanzhao to prevent the emperor from receiving this intelligence. He recognizes that controlling the initial flow of information is paramount.
Information control is everything in this bureaucracy.
But his blockade fails. The emperor receives Yanzhao's petition. Simultaneously, though, the official military report from Pan Renmei arrives through standard channels.
And the convergence of these two documents on the emperor's desk is the critical juncture of the chapter. Pan's official report presents a meticulously crafted counter-narrative.
He flips the script completely.
He does. He attributes the total loss of Yang Yi's forces to their own insubordination and tactical incompetence. He leverages a specific, highly damaging bureaucratic concept called Yaogong Shiji.
Which translates to what exactly?
It means seeking credit and losing the opportunity. He characterizes the frontline troops as overly ambitious, claiming they abandoned protocol in a greedy pursuit of military glory, which ultimately led to their destruction. What's fascinating here is how Pan Renmei uses the sheer weight of his official authority to control the narrative before the victim even has a chance to speak.
He understands the bureaucratic reality that the first documented report often solidifies into the accepted institutional truth.
Precisely. He is weaponizing the official record to preemptively neutralize the whistleblower.
But the moment this competing narrative is introduced into the court, the underlying systemic biases immediately activate. The apparatus moves to protect its own hierarchical structure. Censor Huang Yu steps forward and vehemently advocates for Pan Renmei's version of events.
And Huang Yu's argument is rooted in the preservation of absolute command structure. He contends that field commanders require unquestioned authority to maintain operational discipline.
Which sounds reasonable on paper.
Sure, on paper. He argues that indulging a subordinate's accusations against a superior after a battlefield failure would fundamentally destabilize the entire military hierarchy. On these grounds, he formally demands that Yan Zhao be pushed out the palace gates and immediately executed for insubordination and filing false charges.
But then the text reveals a crucial piece of background information regarding Censor Huang Yu. He is Pan Renmei's brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
It is a glaring conflict of interest, masquerading as military doctrine.
That familial tie exposes the network of mutual self-interest that often underpins institutional power. Huang Yu manipulates the language of order, discipline, and hierarchy to shield his family's standing and preempt any formal investigation into the operational failure.
The push for immediate execution is just a tactic to permanently eliminate the conflicting data point before it can be verified.
Exactly. Dead men tell no tales, and they certainly don't file follow-up petitions.
So Yan Zhao faces imminent execution, merely for introducing conflicting intelligence. But then the intervention comes from the Eighth Prince, who fundamentally alters the geometry of the conflict. He halts the execution by reminding Emperor Taizong of the Yang family's incredible past service record. He urges the emperor to weigh the historical reliability of the source before just discarding the intelligence.
And the Eighth Prince's intervention moves beyond just an appeal to past loyalty. He advocates for a structural shift in jurisdiction.
How so?
He recognizes that the military reporting structure is irreparably compromised by Pan's influence. To resolve two diametrically opposed narratives, he insists the matter be extracted from the military sphere entirely and transferred to the civil judicial authorities. He demands a face-to-face, formal legal confrontation between Pan Renmei and Yan Zhao.
He forces the conflict into a highly regulated legal framework. He operates on the premise that while written reports can be easily fabricated by a commander from afar, an active judicial interrogation introduces variables that are much harder to control.
Right. It's easy to lie on paper, much harder to maintain that lie in a courtroom.
Exactly. So Emperor Taizong agrees to this structural solution and assigns a civil official, Fu Dingshen, to conduct the formal investigation.
But the transition to a formal judicial process introduces a whole new set of institutional vulnerabilities.
Never goes smoothly, does it?
Never. Fu Dingshen initiates the proceedings by summoning Pan Renmei and his key subordinates, Lu Gunqi, Qin Zhaoqing, and Drill Master Mi. Pan Renmei immediately adopts an aggressive defensive posture.
He plays the victim.
Completely. He frames himself as the victim of a systemic breakdown, questioning how any commander can effectively defend the borders if the state permits subordinates to file malicious retaliatory claims following any strategic setback.
He leverages the inherent bureaucratic anxieties of the investigator. He frames a ruling against him as a ruling against the stability of the state's border defense.
And Fu Dingshen's response is notably indecisive. He avoids direct interrogation, opting instead for a weak directive to simply detain the parties while he deliberates. He defaults to the path of least administrative friction.
And that administrative hesitation creates a massive operational window for Pan's faction. In systems lacking rigorous oversight, indecision from a regulatory body often signals a willingness to negotiate terms outside of official channels.
It's an invitation for corruption.
Pan Renmei's wife, Lady Huang, exploits this window perfectly. She dispatches a trusted maid to infiltrate the back hall of Fu Dingshen's private estate. The text details the scale of the bribery involved, which is just staggering. 100 taels of gold and a jade belt.
A fortune.
A literal fortune. The source characterizes Fu Dingshen as naturally greedy and susceptible to such overtures. He happily accepts the assets without hesitation and assures the maid that the investigation will be resolved in Pan's favor. The judicial safeguard is effectively neutralized.
It is, but the Eighth Prince anticipated this exact vulnerability within the civil process.
He's always one step ahead.
He is. Understanding Fu Dingshen's operational profile and corrupt nature, the prince did not rely solely on the formal transfer of jurisdiction. He simultaneously initiated a parallel intelligence gathering effort.
While Fu Dingshen is calculating his newfound wealth, here's where it gets really interesting. The eighth prince had preemptively positioned his own spies to monitor Fu Dingchen's estate. These assets catch the infiltration and intercept Lady Huang's maid red-handed as she attempts to leave the premises after delivering the bribe.
And the response from the eighth prince bypasses all standard bureaucratic protocols. He personally breaches Fu Dingchen's estate, and he's carrying a golden mace.
Golden mace.
Yes, the mace serves as a direct symbol of overarching imperial authority. It grants him the mandate to override the standard procedural hierarchy and strike terror into Fu.
The eighth prince executes a localized, immediate interrogation right there. He brings the intercepted maid directly onto the steps of the estate and applies overwhelming situational pressure. The maid breaks and provides a full confession detailing the delivery of the gold and the jade belt on behalf of Lady Huang.
Confronted with intercepted personnel and a verified confession on his own steps, Fu Dingchen's position just collapses.
He's caught.
The imperial response is swift. He is stripped of his official garments, his rank is permanently revoked, and he is exiled back to his hometown.
Good riddance.
True, but while this resolves the immediate breach of judicial integrity, the primary investigation into the military catastrophe remains completely unresolved.
Right, the original problem is still there. The narrative demonstrates the resilience of entrenched corruption. The military reporting structure failed, and the initial judicial intervention was successfully compromised. The eighth prince concludes that standard administrative officials just lack the leverage required to prosecute a target with Pan Renmei's resources.
They need a heavier hitter.
Exactly. So he recommends the appointment of a new judge, Li Ji, a censor known for his fiercely loyal, severe, and uncompromising application of the law.
And Li Ji's approach to the investigation relies heavily on psychological dominance and the overt display of state power. He does not play games. He reconstructs the investigative environment to maximize intimidation.
The text describes a terrifying courtroom setup.
Terrifying is the right word. When Pan Renmei and his subordinates are brought into the new proceedings, they are met with heavily armed guards and a brutal, highly visible arrangement of torture instruments. Li Ji establishes an environment of absolute physical threat before the formal questioning even begins.
Yet Pan Renmei attempts to maintain his original strategic narrative. Under initial questioning, he falls back on his old excuse. He reiterates that Yang Yi died on his own. It was an isolated tactical failure, completely disconnected from his own command decisions.
But Li Ji aggressively dismantles that defense by introducing highly specific, granular data points. He directly confronts Pan with the internal execution of the seventh brother via arrows in the West Camp, and he explicitly cites the recent exposure and ruin of Fu Dingchen.
Showing his hand.
Exactly. Li Ji signals that he possesses full operational awareness of both the battlefield events and the subsequent cover-up attempts. He breaks the chain of command.
Realizing that Pan Renmei possesses the highest level of risk tolerance and is the most likely to withstand interrogation to protect his life and status, Li Ji executes a precise tactical pivot. He completely bypasses the mastermind and focuses the entirety of the judicial pressure on the mid-level operatives Lu Zhongqi, Qin Zhaoqing, and Drillmaster Mi.
He identifies the structural weak point of the conspiracy. Large-scale institutional cover-ups require the silence of the personnel who physically executed the orders. If we connect this to the bigger picture, breaking the complicity of lower-level subordinates is frequently the only viable mechanism for dismantling a deeply insulated leadership structure.
Because the top guys are too protected.
Precisely. The architects of the corruption are heavily shielded by rank and resources. But the individuals who actually fired the arrows and drafted the fraudulent reports lack that same layer of protection.
And Li Ji exploits that lack of protection through the application of state-sanctioned violence. The text details that the three subordinates are subjected to extreme physical pressure and torture. The pressure exceeds their capacity for resistance. To halt the application of pain, the subordinates break and provide comprehensive confessions.
They sing like canaries.
They detail everything. The premeditated framing of Yang Yi, the coordinated isolation of his troops, and the internal assassination of the seventh brother. They lay out the precise mechanics of the conspiracy on the official record.
The fabricated official narrative is entirely deconstructed, not by extracting a confession from the primary author, Pan Renmei, but by systematically dismantling the human infrastructure that supported it.
The foundation crumbles.
Right. Li Ji formally documents the comprehensive confessions, seals the finalized record, and forwards it to the emperor for sentencing. The intelligence initially provided by the whistleblower, Yan Zhao, is unequivocally validated by the state apparatus. The text makes a compelling underlying argument that fate, or what the narrative refers to as heaven, always has the final say. No matter how perfectly a human scheme is engineered, there are forces at play that simply cannot be controlled by a royal decree.
Well, let's jump right into the thick of it. The source drops us right into the middle of a massive political scandal. An official named Li Ji is delivering a very damning report to Emperor Taizong regarding the crimes of a Pan Renmei.
And the emperor's not happy?
Oh, he is absolutely furious. He wants to execute Pan Renmei right then and there to set a harsh example for all the border generals.
It's important to understand the geopolitical anxiety at play here. The emperor isn't just, throwing a tantrum, he's managing a fragile empire.
Right. He's got to keep people in line.
Precisely. Using a high-profile execution to send a message to the border generals is a calculated tactic to maintain control over distant, heavily armed forces. He wants to demonstrate that proximity to the capital doesn't grant you immunity.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But his grand plan hits a massive bureaucratic wall. The eighth prince steps in and points out a glaring loophole in the law. It turns out Pan Renmei is connected to a royal concubine.
The ultimate networking perk.
Seriously.
Mhm.
And because of this proximity to the royal family, his death penalty is automatically reduced by 2 whole degrees. So I have to ask, for those of us not well-versed in ancient legal codes, what does dropping 2 degrees actually mean in this context?
To give you a modern equivalent, dropping 2 degrees in this ancient legal framework is akin to taking a sentence of lethal injection and downgrading it straight to house arrest or probation.
Yeah.
It's not a minor adjustment, it's a complete circumvention of the ultimate penalty. Because of that single royal tie, Pan Renmei merely loses his official job, is stripped of his title, and becomes a commoner.
So the architect of the crime gets to walk away with his life.
Exactly.
It is the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. And the sheer inequality of it becomes blindingly obvious when you look at what happens to his accomplices.
Subordinates always pay the price.
They really do. You have Liu Yongqi, Qin Zhaoqing, and Instructor Mei. They do not have a royal concubine in their family tree, so their sentences are only reduced by 1 degree from death, and they're exiled to the absolute outer fringes of the empire.
Which is essentially a social death sentence.
Right. Liu Yongqi is sent to the military in Zizu, Qin Zhaoqing is sent to Laizu, and Instructor Mei is exiled to Mizu.
Those locations aren't accidental. Exiling them to Zizu, Laizu, and Mizu is a stark geographic representation of their lack of privilege. They are physically cast out to the harsh margins of the known world, effectively erasing them from the political chessboard.
And the collateral damage doesn't even stop with the guilty parties. Even the hero of the broader narrative, Yang Yanzhao, gets caught in the crossfire.
Which is deeply unfair.
Completely. Because he lost military secrets during this whole debacle, he is exiled to Zhengzhou. So you have a situation where the wealthy mastermind gets a slap on the wrist, while the subordinates and the honorable figures are banished to the wilderness. It's incredibly bleak.
It is bleak, but the text refuses to let the reader wallow in that cynicism. Right after detailing this profound injustice, the narrative pauses to offer a poem.
Oh, right, the poem.
It reads, "Heaven has eyes and makes no mistakes. It's only a matter of time before retribution comes."
It feels a bit like a contradiction, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, on one hand, we just read a meticulous breakdown of how the rich and connected rigged the legal system. On the other hand, the text is telling us not to worry because the universe is keeping a ledger.
That tension is exactly the point. It's balancing a deeply cynical, utterly realistic portrayal of political mechanics with a comforting moral philosophy.
A way to cope with the unfairness.
Exactly. It acknowledges that human bureaucracy is inherently corruptible by design, but it insists that cosmic justice operates on a longer timeline. And intriguingly, we see a subtle shift in that balance almost immediately regarding Yang Yanzhao.
Right, the hero who was unfairly exiled. The emperor starts feeling this heavy, nagging guilt about the Yang family's past sacrifices. He remembers how Yang Yanzhao's father and brothers died defending the state.
He's feeling the weight of his own rash decisions.
Seizing on this emotional opening, a scholar named Ku Zun steps up. He argues that if the emperor rewards Yang Yanzhao, who was the sole surviving son, it will deeply inspire the entire military.
It's brilliant political maneuvering.
So the emperor sends an envoy out to Zhangzhou to bring Yang Yanzhao right back.
Kuzun's intervention is a masterstroke. Notice he doesn't argue the morality of the law or the fairness of the exile.
He doesn't say, "You made a mistake, emperor."
No, you can't say that to an emperor. He frames Yang Yanzhao's return as a pragmatic tool for military morale. He aligns the moral correction with the strategic needs of the emperor.
We just saw Ku Zun brilliantly maneuver the emperor to fix a gap in the military structure. But the text immediately forces us to look at a much larger, more devastating structural collapse. The narrative takes a sudden shift to report the death of the military commissioner, Zhao Pu.
And the loss of Zhao Pu is a seismic event for the state. Both the emperor and Kozun mourn him as an irreplaceable pillar of the empire.
He was that important.
Absolutely. He was a resolute leader, but his true legacy was his strategy of suppressing the military in favor of literature and civilian administration. He was the anchor that kept the volatile military factions from tearing the state apart.
And the source material gives us this incredible behind-the-scenes look at how Zhao Pu actually achieved this level of mastery. You would assume a guy shaping the entire civilian administration of an empire was a lifelong academic.
Right, surrounded by towers of scrolls.
But he actually lacked formal academic learning. The previous emperor had essentially ordered him to read more to make up for it. So Zhao Pu developed this mysterious daily routine.
This is one of the most fascinating parts of the text.
It really is.
Yeah.
Every single day, after returning home from court, he would lock himself in his room, open a secret box, and read from it. The next morning, he would emerge and flawlessly solve the most complex problems the state could throw at him.
You can imagine the mystique this built among the political elite. The entire court must have been agonizing over what was in that box.
Oh, the rumors must have been wild.
Was it some arcane military strategy, a lost grimoire of statecraft, a secret network of spies?
Exactly. So when he finally dies, his family opens the secret box, likely expecting to uncover the ultimate cheat code to running an empire. And what is inside?
The big reveal.
It's just the Analects of Confucius, a text containing a mere 20 chapters. That's it. No secret scrolls, no dark magic, just 20 chapters.
Which leads to one of the most famous quotes in the text. Zhao Pu once told the emperor, "With half of it, I helped conquer the world. With the other half, I help your majesty bring about a great peace."
That is such a powerful statement.
It is. It's also explicitly noted that throughout his time serving two different emperors, he never once abused his immense power to benefit his own relatives.
So for you listening right now, surrounded by an endless feed of information, articles, and hot takes, you might be thinking, great, I just need to find my one magical book and I'll be set. Just pick one text and ignore everything else.
I'd caution against oversimplifying it to just picking one book. The secret wasn't merely the Analects. It was Zhao Pu's rigorous, obsessive daily application of it.
If repetition.
Yes, he is the ultimate historical counter-argument to the modern compulsion for breadth over depth. He didn't have a library of thousands of scrolls. He internalized one profound set of foundational principles until it became the lens through which he evaluated every novel problem. Knowledge is only powerful when it alters how you operate.
That distinction is crucial. He didn't just passively read it. He lived it. And the contrast the text sets up here is brilliant. You have Renmei at the beginning, using his power entirely for nepotism and self-preservation.
The sliding scale of justice.
Right. Then you have Zhao Pu, governed by the anchor of profound principles, remaining completely incorruptible and refusing to help his relatives.
It perfectly illustrates the difference between a man governed by the whims of power and a man governed by deep, internalized philosophy. But when a state loses a philosophical anchor like Zhao Pu, the resulting power vacuum is incredibly dangerous. And that brings us to the paranoia infecting the rest of the narrative.
Right, because Emperor Taizong is aging, and he absolutely refuses to name a crown prince. He is incredibly sensitive about it.
Which is a terrible strategy for a monarchy.
It is. If anyone even dares to ask about the succession plan like this poor official named Feng Zhang, the emperor immediately exiles them to the harsh southern region of Lingyan.
An absolute monarchy without a clear line of succession is a powder keg. Because the emperor refuses to clarify the future, every faction is forced to guess.
And in that environment, guessing breeds immediate conspiracy.
Always.
The seventh prince, Yuanqin, becomes consumed by this. He genuinely believes that the emperor plans to pass the throne to his brother, the eighth prince, based on an old will.
So the paranoia completely takes over.
Driven by this paranoia, the seventh prince sits down with his strategist, a man named Wang Qin. Now, Wang Qin delivers the most cutthroat, pragmatic villain advice imaginable. He basically tells the prince, if you're worried about your brother taking the throne, just kill your brother. Problem solved.
It is the brutal, chilling logic of a survivalist political landscape. But what elevates this from a standard historical assassination plot is the methodology Wang Qin proposes. He doesn't suggest hiring thugs in an alleyway.
No, that would be too simple.
He suggests a highly sophisticated piece of technological deception.
The gadget. I was waiting for this part. Wang Qin tells the seventh prince to commission a mandarin duck wine pot, or a yuan yang hu. I saw this in the notes, but how exactly does a two-faced pitcher actually function without the person drinking noticing?
It's an incredible piece of fluid dynamics and craftsmanship. It is an intricately designed two-chambered pitcher. One hidden chamber holds deadly poisoned wine, and the other chamber holds pure, safe wine.
Okay, but how do they control which one comes out?
The person pouring it controls which liquid dispenses by subtly covering or uncovering a hidden air hole on the handle with their thumb. It allows the assassin to pour themselves a safe drink and seamlessly pour their target a lethal one from the exact same vessel.
That is terrifying. It's a beautiful, intricate piece of art designed specifically for murder. So the seventh prince secretly hires a highly skilled silversmith, Master Hugh, to build it.
And Master Hugh delivers flawlessly.
He does. He builds this complex device perfectly. But this is where the dark reality of royal innovation rears its head, and is brutal detail in the text.
Indeed. Once the flawless weapon is delivered, the creator suddenly becomes the biggest liability. To keep the secret of the assassination plot safe, the seventh prince and Wang Qin decide they must eliminate Master Hugh.
They don't just kill him, though. They weaponize his success against him. They reward him, praise his brilliant craftsmanship, give him fine wine until he is thoroughly drunk, and then they throw him down a well in the back garden, just discarded like a piece of trash.
This is a profound look at the dark side of innovation under an oppressive regime. It speaks volumes about the complete expendability of the lower classes.
He was just a tool to them.
Exactly. Master Hugh's genius is the only reason the prince's plot can move forward, but his life has absolutely zero value to the elite once his utility is spent. The irony is suffocating. The creator of a two-faced deceptive teapot is murdered by the two-faced nature of his royal patrons. They smile, pour him wine, and then destroy him to protect their own power.
It's chilling. So the silversmith is set in a well, the technological marvel is ready, and the trap is set. The way the text sets the scene for this climax is incredibly cinematic. It is spring, the flowers are in full bloom, music is playing in the royal back garden. The seventh prince invites the eighth prince over for a banquet.
Notice how the seventh prince manipulates social convention here to trap his brother. The eighth prince is actually feeling sick. His stomach is upset, and he explicitly says he doesn't want to drink.
But the seventh prince pressures him relentlessly. He invokes brotherly love, essentially arguing that refusing a drink on such a beautiful spring day is an insult to their familial bond.
It's a complete weaponization of guilt and duty.
The eighth prince finally relents. The attendant comes over with the mandarin duck pot. He manipulates that hidden air hole, pours the poison chamber into a golden goblet, and sets it in front of the eighth prince.
The trap is sprung.
The text gives us this visceral, terrifying sensory detail right here. The poison gas coming off the wine in this golden goblet is so intense and pungent that the eighth prince actually has to cover his nose.
The tension is exquisitely crafted. The perfect mechanical trap is sitting right there. The eighth prince is physically holding the cup. The seventh prince is watching, waiting for his brother to die so he can secure an empire. From a purely human, logistical standpoint, the assassination is a total success. There is no escape.
But then, the cosmic says, just before the eighth prince can bring that pungent, poisoned wine to his lips, out of nowhere, a sudden, violent gust of wind sweeps through the garden.
Right when he's about to drink.
Yes, it hits the table and literally knocks the golden goblet over. The poisoned wine spills all over the dirt, and the text notes that it actually sparkles and glows on the ground.
A stunning visual representation of the malice being exposed, the poison literally radiating its true nature for everyone to see. And this brings us right back to the philosophical core we discussed earlier. Remember the poem?
Heaven has eyes and makes no mistakes.
Precisely. This moment is the exact manifestation of that belief.